Thank you very much, Mark. Um, and thanks everyone for having us. My name's Rory Cramer. I'm CEO and co-founder of HomeViews. Harry?
Hi, hello, and I'm Harry Downs. I'm Managing Director of Fizzy Living.
What we'd like to talk through with you today is how Fizzy Living apply HomeViews. But firstly, a quick introduction to HomeViews. We're known as the TripAdvisor residential developments. We launched nearly 2 years ago now. I prefer the analogy a witch because I think that we are more consumer focused than TripAdvisor could be conceived to be. But our mission statement is to provide useful and trustworthy insights about residential developments to support those looking for their new home. So we operate in both build to rent and build to sell, and we provide insights from owners and tenants living in residential developments. We initially were focused in London, and the criteria of a building to be on HomeViews was a building of over 50 units built since the year 2000. We're now UK-wide. We have over 15,000 reviews, which cover over 1,000 residential developments. That actually totals nearly 135,000 homes. And we're now in 11 UK cities. This slide is slightly dated. We launched Reading last week. So we are expanding, and we're the largest data set of our kind. And the data set really is focused on the lived experience, what people really are experiencing in these buildings on a day-to-day basis. We have a very wide range of clients. As I mentioned, build to rent and build to sell, some of the largest house builders and some of the biggest build to rent operators, but also some boutique and smaller brands and developers. And everyone uses HomeViews. Obviously, you have the consumer facing element of it, which is a review site. But as Harry will sort of testify today, there's a lot more to HomeViews in that we've actually very much become an operations tool that's embedded within a number of these clients of ours. But why are we different? So very quickly, we verify every time a review is left on HomeViews. We take the full name, postcode, and flat number, and we check the electrical contract and mobile phone contract. So when you read a verified review, you know that person lives in the building. One resident writes one review. We're not an open forum. I think one big issue online is actually a vocal. And that has been a major issue for a lot of our clients in the past. The reviews are by development and not by brand. That seems very obvious, but on a lot of other review sites, you'll actually be reviewing Berkeley Homes instead of Royal Arsenal Riverside, as an example. And we collect over 13 different data points. And the importance of that is a potential tenant or owner can really base a decision on our reviews. They are that insightful. And in some cases, we have hundreds of reviews in one building. But also by asking these additional data points, we get past the issue-led reviews, which you often find on other review sites, where if you don't ask someone about their whole experience, they'll really focus on the issues. And as you know, TripAdvisor will testify, the best hotels in the world have issues, as do the best buildings in the world. But being able to put that into context is key. And then this is kind of illustrated in terms of we are the only website providing this sort of data, and that is illustrated. This slide, it's a lot to take in. On the left-hand side, it shows the average dwell time of people that come onto HomeViews is over 5 minutes, which really proves that when people find our data, find the reviews, it's exactly what they're looking for. That is way above average for an industry average. And then also our bounce rate is very low. And we have over 50,000 unique visitors per month now. That's increased 400% year on year. And interestingly, through COVID, we actually saw a real uptick in our traffic and since, because people are doing more research online. So Harry and Fizzy Living were actually one of the pioneers of HomeViews. And Harry, we've now been working together for 2 years with HomeViews and Fizzy. I'd love to hear from you about your point of view of how HomeViews has how it's been working with us and what really the USPs of the service are.
Okay, thanks for that, Rory. I'd just like to say before I kick off that it wasn't the old guy who had the tech problem. So we started Fizzy about 8 years ago, And when we started, the sector was, well, it was just evolving, it was just starting. And it was really important to us to know what was going well and what was going badly. Just as important, what was going badly. So what we did, in about 2014, we started doing our own customer care survey, which is an annual survey where we posed the question, sent it around to all of our tenants, and that was great. It worked really well, but it did slightly feel as if we were correcting our own homework. So when Rory came along and said he was thinking of setting up this business, it seemed to me absolutely ideal that we could start using HomeViews, shifting the questions to arm's length, which was very important to us. But at the same time, we would then be comparing ourselves with. I'd written down 125,000, but I think your first slide said 135,000 peers out there in the market, which was hugely important to us. So, as well as providing a sort of valid check on our performance, HomeViews has also become a bit of a sort of secondary sales aid, because I think probably 90% of our tenants will have swanned through HomeViews to check us out before signing up. And we've also already had quite a few tenants who were in HomeViews checking before they'd even heard of Fizzy and came to us that way. So in all sorts of ways, it's working very well for us.
Thank you, Harry. So as Harry just said, I mean, Fizzy Living now have 916 reviews across their 7 developments. And one of the parts of the service that we offer is actually helping you generate reviews from your residents. We do an annual survey with Fizzy Living where we ask all their residents whether they've been in the building for 2 weeks or for 3 years, the same set of questions, and it's really become embedded in the team's sort of yearly customer satisfaction route. Within that, after that survey, we then provide a very detailed report, which, as Harry alluded to, it allows Harry to benchmark all of the scores from his portfolio against each other, but then also, more importantly, and what this slide shows, benchmark against the HomeViews averages. So we've got 15,000 residents. We actually are just about to launch the 2020 or do the UKA Awards for the Build to Rent Awards, which provides an insight into 57% of the actively open Build to Rent buildings in the UK. And Harry's able to benchmark himself against that data, which is incredibly helpful from an operations point of view, to give you a barometer on, not just how are you doing against each other buildings in your portfolio, but how you're doing against the wider industry. And actually in the 2020 Build to Rent report we issued at the beginning of this year, we looked at the star players, which were people that were providing an excellent service but with the most affordable rents. And 6 out of 7 Fizzy buildings were within that star player categories, which, Harry, completely backed up what your sort of goals and mission statement was, to provide a fantastic service at an affordable rent.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out as well, right there, that there will be some parts that our score is a bit lower. For example, if you ask people what they think of the amenities that are provided in the building, which with our offer is quite limited, because we're going for we're aiming for sort of younger people with less money to spend. So it's not so much of having a cinema and a gym inside the building. It's having a building that's next door to a cinema and a gym. So we wouldn't score highly inside the building, but I think we get extra for value for money.
Indeed, and actually, as across all of your buildings, it's the quality of your front of house staff, the Bobs, as you call them, and their engagement with your residents, which really makes the difference. I've just moved on to some examples. So once we've conducted that survey, once you've analysed the results, you've benchmarked yourself against the industry, we can then turn all of that content into marketing collateral. And these are some examples of how the HomeViews quotes weave in to the Fizzy marketing journey. Some slightly more bread and butter lettings tools, frequently asked questions answered from the voice of the residents, that I know Harry's teams on the ground love utilising for each building. And we obviously have the HomeViews Awards. We have to have a certain number of verified reviews and very high scores to be qualified for. So we've introduced these into the market, effectively acting like a TripAdvisor Awards for excellence. It gives consumers that confidence that they're about to choose to live with or are living with an operator that goes above and beyond. And then actually utilizing this content to differentiate yourself on portals to get a higher click-through rate. We're seeing fantastic results across our partners utilizing this content. And also through our own social media channels, we have an in-house graphic designer and content writer. And as part of the service, we make sure Fizzy Living are woven into all of our social outputs and blogs as well that we write on various different subjects that we make sure Fizzy are woven into to get the benefit of that click-through rate, that traffic and that recognition from the consumers. And we have a huge number of opportunities for PR. Obviously, with 15,000 case studies, journalists love case studies, and we ensure that Fizzy gets the benefit of any of those PR opportunities. And then I suppose first and foremost, eyes on Fizzy and the quality of their feedback. We're now number one if you search for Fizzy Living reviews. It's pulling through the star rating. And in fact, if you just Google Fizzy Living, we're number two. And so this is how people are finding us. Potential tenants are reading our content. It's independent and it's verified and it's trustworthy. And in fact, Google are pulling through our ratings, as you can see here, for both the Fizzy Living and Canning Town. This is quite common now on any building that's on HomeViews. And then ultimately, we're also lead generating. And this was a great case study during COVID of someone using virtual viewings and the content on HomeViews to make a decision to move into a Fizzy building. And we have listings available on all our partner developments, and we've kind of take the next evolutionary step, which was you can look for the top rated buildings by the best operators and you can see what's available in them. But yeah, thank you to Harry so much for the opportunity to come and speak today, and that's it from us.
Not quite it. I've got some questions here, which I'm hoping you're going to be able to answer. Rory, interesting idea. I suppose one of the big drawbacks of these kind of reviews is you get one really bad-tempered resident who just makes it a point to just kind of drive it down and put really sort of difficult things on your website. How do you deal with that?
Well, firstly, our team support all of our partners in dealing with negative reviews. But one thing I would say is a bad review dealt with well is worth 5 5-star reviews. And by that, I mean, no building's perfect. Every single building has issues. And in the same way that the best hotels in the world have issues, and you can read those reviews in TripAdvisor. But if that review is responded to within 48 hours, it's responded to personally and quickly, from a consumer, that's all you can ask for. Life isn't perfect, but as long as you've got an operator or a developer that is on top of that and doing their best to make sure that you're looked after, then as a consumer, you can see that operators and developers have the opportunity to respond to every review on HomeViews. Yeah. And that is our recommendation. Respond quickly, personally, and that can be more powerful than just 5 glowing reviews, because I think everyone in some point or other wants to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, but they just want to know that they're going to be living with someone that supports them.
Yeah, Harry, I'm interested to know how you deal with them. You had very, very few bad reviews on that list that popped up just now. But of course, reputationally, you've got a lot of money invested in a big property project. There is a risk that it could go horribly wrong if the reviews suddenly start really driving down. How do you deal with that risk?
Well, hello, Mark. I mean,
Hi.
I think that is why we're there. That's why we use HomeViews. That's why we used to do our own customer care surveys, because we need to know that if something's going wrong, I want to know about it and put it right. And so you're always going to have some grumpy people. There are grumpy people in the world who complain about things. Nothing's perfect. But if someone is looking at 95 reviews and 90 of them are really good and 5 of them are pretty bad and 1 of them's awful, they're going to think, actually, maybe that's a grumpy person. I think no matter what is happening, I need to know and I need to be dealing with it. And I think if your reputation is out there and it's on the line, and people know that that's what you're doing, you're going to win.
Excellent.
I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Just sorry, Mark, just on that, the reviews are out there already. They're on Google, they're on Trustpilot, they're on Facebook. People are sharing them. I think HomeViews provides a structure where you know those people live in that building. We verify those reviews, and you have a chance to respond to them. So I think the point is that reviews are out there already. We've just created a platform that puts some structure and security around it from an operator and developer's point of view.
That's really interesting. Thank you both very much. And interesting, I think, that you're using it, Harry, both as a form of feedback and a form of promotion. So it has almost a sort of double use for you. Really interesting stuff. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of those kind of reviews in the future. Thank you very much indeed to Rory and Harry.